How are we doing today, guys? My name is Jalen Paulding, and I'm here to talk to you guys about my sources and about my paper for our final assignment in the class. Like I said, I want to kick it off with my sources. And so the very first source that I used was a man named Kenny Nguyen. He is of Korean descent. He is actually one of the fathers of one of my childhood friends that I grew up with back in the Bay Area. So him and we had a phone interview over the phone not too long ago, and I got to sit down, ask him some questions, and gain a lot of insight onto his life. He did grow up in the Bay Area himself, so it was awesome talking to someone who grew up in the Bay Area. That's my parents' age, so I can somewhat relate to them more than I would someone who I've never met or someone who lived a really, really long time ago. So that was awesome. And the next person I used was a man named Rick Lopez. He's also the father of one of my childhood friends from where I grew up in the Bay Area, Dublin, California. He came over to the United States when he was 10. He came over with his mother and his father. They lived in the Los Angeles area where he grew up for the most part of his life until he met Mrs. Lopez and they got together and moved up to the Bay Area. And that is where they live now, so that was awesome. I did the same thing with him. Had a phone interview, was able to sit down, talk to him about, his journey and the things that he struggled with and what he's still struggling with today, and his views on immigration and how everyone looks at it. So it was great gaining insight to both what he thinks and what Mr. Nguyen thinks, and kind of comparing and contrasting and seeing the similarities and the differences in what they had to say, seeing as how they're both around the same age and they both have similar stories. The next person that I used was a lady named Lee King Wong. She came over from China with her family in 1933. They landed or their ship arrived in Angels Island, which is in San Francisco. So another person I used from the Bay Area. Main reason I used her was for the most part that, one, she was a woman, so it was nice to have a woman's testimony in there. Two, the fact that she experienced her immigration, her American experience was in the Bay Area. Also something that I could relate to. She grew up in what is called Chinatown of Oakland, California, a place that I've visited regularly. And because I grew up in the Bay Area, like I said, it's only about a 15-minute drive from where I grew up. So was able to go there, and you walk around, you see some cool stuff. So it was great gaining insight on her and her life. The last man I used was a man named John Doyle. John Doyle was an Irish immigrant who came to the United States in 1818. He came to Philadelphia when he came over, and he started out in the printing business and things like of that nature. And he was a guy, the reason I liked him was because he was a guy who worked his way into making a better way for himself, which is, in my opinion, what most immigrants are trying to do for themselves when they come over to the United States. So that's one of the main reasons I used John Doyle. Another reason I used John Doyle was the fact that he was an Irish immigrant who came to the United States before the potato famine. So he foresaw the future per se. But and I jumped more into him into my paper. So. And speaking of my paper, John gives us a great segue to go into that and the direction that I took on my paper. So my paper is really focused on pro-immigration, and it really focuses around two simple questions. Is immigration really, as the first question being, is immigration really as bad as we make it out to seem? And the second is we make it out to seem. And the second question is, are we why should we deny people coming over from other places, trying to make a better way for themselves? Why should we do that? Isn't that what we all want? Isn't that what we're trying to do here in America? Especially us as college students, going to college and trying to get an education so we can make a better way for ourselves. So my paper really revolves around those two questions, and it is a pro-immigration paper. So that's is my opinion, and that's how I feel. I do believe that immigration is a great thing. I do believe that it helps people who otherwise wouldn't have had chances in their lives, that the simple chances that are granted to me, or simple choices that were granted to me that I got to make, just from being born in America. For instance, the option of going to college, or not even on a smaller scale, the option of going to grade school, how I had that available for me. Not everybody has that, and so for me, that's why I think immigration is such a great thing. And again, I dive more into depth in that in my paper, and I answer some questions that are frequently asked, and you guys get my side of the view on it, and everything like that. Now, as far as the legacy for immigration goes, I do believe that on a social level, the legacy for immigration in America is that even to this day, even with all the questions and concerns surrounding immigration, we in America are still the melting pot of the world. People, this is still the #1 immigrant destination, if you want to go with it that way. So immigrants do still come to us, and they look for a way to make it better for themselves. So that is, for me, the legacy that immigration has left on America, is the fact that even through all of the laws that have been passed and the discrimination and the hard times that these immigrants do have to face, um, it does not deter them from coming to America and seeing us as the melting pot. And in fact, we truly are. And the fact that we were built by immigrants, and a lot of people neglect to touch on that fact that America was built by immigrants. The Native Americans are, their name, they're Native Americans. We, as New Age Americans, I guess you could say, would be the immigrants in this situation. We just kind of took over and made it our own. So in actuality, we're all immigrants, and so who are we to tell another group of people that they can't come over to where we are now and do what we did back in the 1600s? And yeah, so I hope you guys have a great time with my paper, and I look forward to hearing the rest of your guys' videos and seeing your guys' views and seeing where your papers are going, and good luck.